Hi, this is Brennan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and I'm here with Lady Chow Fung and Kenny, and we're here for another episode of Wuxia Weekend to discuss Painted Skin: The Resurrection, a 2012 film directed by Wu Ershan, starring Zhu Xun, Zhao Wei, Chen Kun, and Yang Mi. This film is about a fox demon seeking to become human and a disfigured princess struggling with love versus duty. Uh, that's the bare bones description. We're going to get into the overall synopsis of the movie and talk about it. But first, I just wanted to get both of your reactions to the film. I know that we started with the sequel, which is a little bit odd, and we will get to part one at some point. But what were your thoughts on this film?
I really enjoyed it. It's uh, more of a fantasy than than wuxia movies, right? And I really enjoy sort of the way they portray the dilemmas of the human side versus the demon side, and we all of the characters in the movie are very well. Except the antagonist, the barbarian tribe, who are just playing weird. The other actors and actresses, the other characters in the movie were very sympathetic. I thought, like, you could really appreciate why Xiao Wei, the fox demon, wanted to become a human, and you get to see Princess Jing tied down by all these obligations when all she wanted was to be free with her loved one. And there's also like all sorts of considerations on the appearances and how important they are, and there's like I enjoyed the movie overall.
I also enjoyed the movie. It was a little different than what I'm used to. I like the fantasy aspects of it, and I like the messages that it sent. That beauty is not only skin deep. You have to see what's on the inside of a person. I love the love triangle aspect of it. I thought it was a really good movie that just mixed fantasy with a lot of realism, and it was grounded in some ways, but fantastical in others. But it was a really good movie.
Yeah, and I mean, and obviously, I agree. I've mentioned this in the past, but I think this is a really good film. I prefer this one to the original. Actually, the original is much closer to the original story, but this one, I think, number one, I like the way that it looks, which is always a big thing for me, and I love the music, and I love I love all of the other elements that you guys were talking about. Sort of just this, it really gets into the fantasy sort of territory of things. And it's kind of reminiscent. There was another movie, I think it was called Sorcerer and the White Snake, which was like a take on the Madam White Snake story. And that's also quite interesting. But this one seemed to have some very similar patterns in terms of the characters and the relationships. But I thought this one was more effective than that one. I think largely because of the acting. I think you have a lot of good actors, especially in the female roles in this film. So let's get into the overview of the movie. It opens up 500 years after the first film, and the fox demon from that movie has been trapped in ice, and a bird demon is attracted by her face and releases her, and the ice shatters, and we see her running in a field. And this is sort of if you haven't seen the first one, this is your introduction to the fox demon, and I think her name is Zhao Wei in this one, and the bird demon's name is Chu, I believe. What did you guys think of that opening? It's very CG heavy. Did it work for you guys? Did it have any problems?
It worked for me. It drew me right in. A beautiful woman being encased in ice, and this little bird pecking at the ice until she's free. It was just like, I wonder what the connection between these two are going to be. I was thinking maybe the bird was going to be a male bird and a love story would develop from there. But of course I was wrong. But yeah, I really liked it. I liked the blue. Blue's one of my favorite colors. I like the bluishness of the whole scene.
This whole movie's got a blue tone to it, I think. There's a very aqua blue feel throughout the whole movie.
There's a lot to do with water and kind of like the essence of life, I guess. It just really was I don't know. Very blue. I don't know what else to say. I don't know how else to describe it.
I don't know, there were some scenes which I thought were quite red in nature as well, but I don't know if that's just the. There are definitely lots of blue involved whenever Zhao Wei was on screen, and all the effects were definitely blue and themed around water and ice, um, and there are several iconic scenes in the movie, for example, where Princess Jing throws herself off a cliff after being rejected by the general. Um, and that was a very striking scene for me. But I don't know, like the scenes where she's not present, it feels like it's a very there's a sort of red filter
Okay,
sometimes.
that's interesting. Yeah, I definitely noticed the I definitely saw a blue filter, but I do remember there being some red, especially in the wedding scene. The when she which for obvious reasons there's red, but they really sort of emphasized her red gown, and everything kind of did feel red in those moments. And there were other scenes too that were like gold, black, and white. So I mean there were I think there were a few color schemes being used here. Um, but it's interesting because we just came off of all those Zhang Yimou movies that use extensive color like this, but this does something similar, but it feels so different the way that it does it. Um, and then so the next scene is presumably months later because they're in a caravan of some kind. It's not totally clear what this is exactly yet, but they're in a caravan and she's in this what looks almost like a yurt or some kind of tent that's on wheels, and she's with a man and takes his heart, and the bird demon is a little bit disappointed with the results and mentions that they've been doing this for quite some time, and when are they going to find a man who will give his heart willingly, which is sort of her overriding goal over the movie. She's trying to find a man who can give his heart willingly so that she can transform into a human, because the ice that she escaped from is still chasing her. So I don't want to go over every single scene in the movie like this, but this one was kind of important. Did you have any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I didn't really think it was relevant. It would be relevant again, but obviously the ending of the movie proved me wrong otherwise. But yeah, I thought it was quite interesting. One of one of the key events is that she actually finds a willing victim in the form of the princess. But it's funny because she went from like the Fox Demon went from the angle that she must find a man to willingly give his heart to her, rather than finding a person. I like how she sort of made the assumption that it has to be a man that she'd have to trick into giving his heart to her,
And
rather than.
she even thinks Princess Jing is a man when she first meets her. So or at least that was my impression. I could be wrong.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
Yeah.
and that does bring us to the next scene, which is and this is sort of a stage thing where obviously they're using the demons are using some kind of magic to make it look like Zhao Wei is being attacked by these men in black, and Princess Jing rides in. And we don't know this at this point, but the reason that she's riding here and that she's on the road is because she's supposed to be married to the Prince of Tianlong, and she decided not to go to the marriage because she's in love with the general. And so she saves Zhao Wei, and they ride off to an encampment. And during the night, this is when we get the first sort of glimpse of that ice coming after Zhao Wei as she's playing the pipa. And this is also during the scene where she and Chu realize that Princess Jing has an exceptionally warm heart, and that it can stave off the effects of the ice. So she agrees to enter into Princess Jing's service as like a court musician and servant. And I don't know. I thought the fight scene in this was pretty interesting. I thought there was a lot of interesting stuff going on during the Pipa scene. Did you guys have any thoughts on this one?
No, I did think that the fight scenes in this movie, as few as they were actually very well done. Like they're all very like stylish fighting scenes, as
Yeah.
opposed to like technical. Like you can enjoy it from a visual aspect rather than thinking, techniques and like the actual physical prowess of the actors involved. Like I feel like it's quite clear that none of the the actors and actresses in the movie are people with martial arts background. It feels like. But it's all very well done with the CG and the wire work, I think.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
kind. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that in a movie like this, that's so fantastical at points, you need that stylized fighting just to match the fantasy of it. Kind of gives it an even more surreal kind of feel to it, but it blends in all so well. If it was the grounded fighting with the with not so much style to it, and it was mostly about the forms and the shapes, it just wouldn't seem right in a movie like this.
Yeah, I thought it worked really well, and it all was just visually stunning. You don't.
Yes.
It's just the whole look and feel of the movie really just works visually. And this is also the scene where we get the first hint of her love for the general, because she said the fox demon, in order to persuade her to get off of a cliff so that she'll be closer to her, she sends a scorpion into her armor and it bites her and she falls down and gets knocked out, and she says Hua Xin. And then we go to the next scene, which is White City. And this is where most of the action of the movie takes place. It's some kind of border town. And we'll get into this later, but it's becoming very clear once you get to White City that this is kind of a very vaguely historical movie, possibly set in not even historical China. They don't mention what the empire is by name, and Tianlong seems to be some kind of fabrication for the purposes of the movie. And all we know is that this border town is fairly close to Tianlong. And this is where the general is stationed, and so she goes to stay with him. And this is also where we meet Pang, the demon hunter, who is busy sort of telling kids about demons, and he explains that the reason that they have to eat human hearts is because they don't have any hearts of their own. And there's also an important scene at this moment where General Hua shoots an arrow while closing his eyes in order to get a coin that's inside a jar that's been thrown into the air. And this is another one of those things that comes back later in the movie. But importantly, when she arrives, General Hua meets with her, and he pours wine on his head before he goes to meet her, and he almost deliberately doesn't make a good impression. And then you start to get glimpses of this background that they have when she was young, and he was her personal guard, and she asked him if he liked her, and he didn't answer, and then she ran into a forest and was attacked by a bear, which she had to kill, but not until the bear had scarred her face. And so one of the important characteristics of Princess Jing is that she has this golden face plate covering the portion of her face that was mauled by the bear. They have a meeting, and she tells him the month and the year that they last saw each other, and they have a feast together. And during the feast, Zhao Wei dances, and it's at this point that she enchants the general. And I'm going to pause it here to talk about it a little bit, because I know that I covered a lot just now. But any thoughts on any of those sections of the movie?
And then, like one comment I have, like for the overall for the fortune teller character, is he didn't feel really necessary. I don't know if he's introduced, he's given a lot of focus, and it feels like, he does have a few key moments, but other than that, like I feel like everything that he did could have been just done by Chua. If that makes sense. Like, he wasn't strictly necessary. In fact, his existing caused a complication towards the climax of the movie.
But I will say his relationship with Chua was important for her as a character. Like, she kind of has this romantic relationship that develops with him, and it's kind of like a pale imitation of Zhao Wei's experience, because she's still sort of experiencing all these things for the first time, and so I think that it's kind of a way of getting this other romance into the story. But I don't know. What did you think of? Do you think Chua's character would have been as effective if she didn't have that relationship with the demon hunter?
Yeah, I mean, she would have done exactly what she would have done anyway. I mean, she would have tried to rescue, her sister, the fox demon. If she found out that she was about to be sacrificed, like she would have gone to tell the general probably.
Okay.
And I don't know, like it's a nice little side story thing, and I really like Chua and Pang's sort of interactions with each other, and how there's sort of like like you said, there's like a secondary love story going on there, which I thought was quite sweet, and they had quite a bit of chemistry together. But at the same time, like I already said I don't feel like it would have been any different if it was just Chua doing all of the things that Pang did.
I think from a purely functional perspective, you're probably right. I think his main utility is that he kind of gives us information about demons that could, like he's an easy way for them to hand us info. My experience with this film is that I really like the way that story is kind of woven. Like the way that they edit the scenes, where I feel like the movie would have felt very different if we didn't have those moments with him and her in between some of the other scenes. It kind of gives the movie a bigger feel for me. But also I think Yang Mi almost steals the show with Chua, and except for the fact that the other two actresses are also very good in those roles, and so it all kind of balances out. So I for that reason I kind of like having her little love story with the demon hunter, because she has a lot of really good moments, but I don't know. I mean, it's definitely. I think you can definitely make a strong case though for what you're saying.
I like their little love story. I think it kind of is the mirror, or not mirror image, but direct opposite of what the fox demon is trying to get, is what Chua actually has with Pang. So it was kind of like a reverse image of it. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No, yeah, no, I know what you mean, because like in that scene, like later in the movie when Chua dips his blood on her hand and she experiences pain for the first time, she mistakes it for love, because the other demon told her that she basically said, like, love is painful, and so she's all excited that she can feel this pain for the first time, and then Zhao Wei kind of reprimands her for interpreting this little burn as this deep sort of human experience of love, and so I don't know. I like the interplay that arises as a result of all that, and I think I feel like it is kind of a mirror. It also is kind of somehow it kind of ties things to the first movie a little bit too, because you get the sense of history through the like Chua is sort of looking at this new, and because of that, she's able to have these dialogue exchanges with Zhao Wei that give people who haven't seen the first movie a better sense of what happened before, I think, and what's motivating her. But then after the so at the feast, Zhao Wei enchants the general, and she sits in his lap, and they begin to kiss, and this enrages Princess Jing, and she scolds her the next day, and then she is having the general wait outside, sort of like as penance. And then we get a scene where this is, and I guess this ties to what we were talking about, where Chua is accosted by two men who try to take advantage of her, and Pang steps in and she's about to kill them when he steps in, and Pang steps in and kind of tries to sell them some medicine to distract them, and he ends up getting beaten up really badly, and then she takes one of their hearts, and Pang realizes that she's a demon, and she roars and disappears. And so that's sort of the beginning of the relationship that we were talking about with them. And then we have the scene on the beach where General Hua and Princess Jing are talking about their past, and she gives him his dagger from when he was the royal guard, and she explains that, and it's a gorgeous dagger. It's made out of gold, and it's got gems on it, and she says that she's been putting gems on it every winter since he's been gone, and there's only one spot left for a gem. And this is where we start to get the details in flashback form of the bear attack that left her scarred. And she is basically saying to him during the scene that she wants to be with him, that they can go run away together, and that nobody's seen her face, but she'll give him permission to look at her face. And it's at this point that he hesitates, and he says that, White City is near Tianlong State, and he has to protect her. He doesn't want to make the same mistake he did before. And, he says that they belong to two different worlds, and basically he will not be with her. And so this is sort of the beginning of the thing that really drives her to the extremes that she goes to later in the movie. So I don't know, any thoughts on that scene? That was kind of an important one.
I like how the actors did it there, because you could really see the emotion on their faces. Like you can see, like he really wanted, General Huo really wanted to take the mask off and accept the princess's love, and they can run off together. But he's struggling with his inferiority complex, that he is a lowborn and that he's not worthy of her. He probably feels a lot of blame himself as well for the scarring on her face, and he can't forgive himself for it. And I feel like that came across through the acting very well there.
I agree with Kenny, and I just wanted to add that, they're both torn between duty, what they have to do, and what they really want to do. And that emotion is so heavy on that scene that you can tell that they really want to be together. But for him, especially, his duty is to protect her, and he didn't do it the first time with the bear. And so now he's sworn that he's never going to make that mistake again. He's got to be a man and do his duty, and he can't let his emotions get involved. So, and that just throws her off the edge, because now she's thinking that it's definitely the scar on her face that's kind of pushing him away. She doesn't realize that it's his sense of duty to protect her and how much he really loves her, and he didn't do that the first time. So there's a lot of emotion and conflict going on in just their expressions, but there aren't very many words said to that effect, but you can feel it.
And this is all kind of being engineered by Zhao Wei, the fox demon, because she enchanted him for this purpose. She wants Princess Jing to believe that the scar is a barrier to him and her being in love, and it's interesting because this is that moment where if he and she had done something differently in this scene, none of the horrible things that unfold later on would unfold. But because they can't get over these hurdles, they go down a much darker course. I'm going to skip over quite a few things just because there's a lot to go over.
One more thing I wanted to point out in the flashback scene is that they also did the blindfolded arrow game. But with a snowboard instead. Yeah. And I thought that was a nice little. They've shown it so many times that by this point it's Chekhov's gun. It has to be relevant at some point.
Right.
Yeah. There's a lot of that in this movie. There's a lot of that. They do that with that. We also hear about the eclipse and then we hear about how the Tianlong sorcerer talking to the princess about how, I think it's like in 5 days or 7 days when their god devours the sun, that they'll be able to perform a ritual for their prince. And this is why they want to marry Princess Jing. There's the marriage arrangement is because of something Tianlong wants to do, and we'll get to that when we get there, I suppose. But it turns out to be a real interesting surprise. But there's also a cute little scene with Pang and Chu where he's basically telling her that he can't find any entry for her in the demon almanac that he has, and she's insisting that she's a demon. He's like, well, maybe you're just an amateur, or you're not really a demon. And she gets really angry and starts flaring her wings at him, and then turns into a bird and pecks him. And then we have a scene where Princess Jing jumps off of a precipice and into the water and is rescued by Zhao Wei. And then when she awakens next to Zhao Wei, she realizes Zhao Wei isn't human, and Zhao Wei explains that she's a demon that's been in prison for 500 years. And so it's kind of interesting that this information kind of comes out. In a lot of movies, I feel like this would be withheld for a long time from the main character, but they kind of put it out there fairly early on. And this is when Zhao Wei offers to trade skins, and she says to Princess Jing that men only see women's beauty, and you no longer look like you did before. And then Princess Jing asks her if she can get rid of her scar, and she says, well, demons can paint their faces however they like, but you're only human. But she offers to lend her beauty, and this enrages Princess Jing because she says, I'm a princess of this empire and I cannot seduce a man on borrowed beauty. But she ultimately persuades her to trade skins so that she can see what General Hua's real feelings are. And so then we get this transformation scene that number one, it reminds me a lot of the movie Hellraiser, but it also reminds me, it gets dangerously close to being like a luxury car commercial at times. But I say that as a compliment. I don't say that, but you know what I mean. There's like because she's in this pool of water and she's getting all these flashbacks of things that happen to her, and one of them is a fish in a bowl that's all black and white except for the goldfish falling onto the ground, and then an image of an old man putting her golden faceplate on, and then scenes of the bear attack, and it's very well shot though, but it's also very unnerving because she literally has her skin peeled off, in the most beautiful, seductive way, but she's still having her skin peeled off by this fox demon, and they trade skins, and she goes to General Hua, and she learns that basically she doesn't know he's enchanted, and that's the reason why this is, but she learns that he's in love with the fox demon. So I'm gonna ask you guys what you thought about some of those scenes, just because those were some pretty important things.
Yeah, I sort of like the way they kept it ambiguous in the dialogue here as to whether the fox demon was good or bad. Like, we get the sense that obviously she's tempting her. But at the same time, she's also quite honest with what's going on. Like, she's not like not like a demonic pact or anything. She's not trying to hide small print somewhere and like screw her over. Like, she's quite straightforward with, oh, I am a demon, and like, we can trade skins, but and later on when she talks about the whole trading hearts thing as well, like, she was very upfront with what she wants. So it was starting to see like a hint of the fox demon, has her own goals and motivations, but she's not a terrible person, as it were.
No, that's true. Go ahead.
It seems like every movie has to have some kind of villain in it, and right now she's kind of the closest thing to a villain, but she's really an honest villain. So you can't really fault her because she does tell you everything up front that you need to know, except for the part about the general being enchanted. That's the only thing that she's holding back. But, you don't... Well, I kind of felt that she was evil until the real evil enters the picture later on. And then, my feelings change, and I feel really sorry for her that she has to do all this stuff to become a human. And I thought Pang was fake for the longest time, that he really wasn't a demon hunter. I just have to throw that in there. And I just thought it was, I don't know, for some reason I thought he was going to be fake the whole way through.
He kind of was fake. It's just that he really did come from a line of demon hunters, and so his blood was deadly to demons, which proves catastrophic for him.
Right.
But still, it was, and also we learn he wants to become a demon. Like, that's his life goal here. He's really not interested in being a demon hunter. When he has a conversation with Chua where he asks to be introduced to the fox demon, and she's immediately suspicious, and I think she's already sort of starting to fall in love with him as though she's jealous, because fox demons are, they're seductresses, and so she asks him why he wants to meet this fox demon. He says, "Oh, it'd be great to be a demon. I can do whatever I want, and I can live forever." And that's kind of, a lot of humans say that during the movie, that the demon life is a carefree existence. But I think with Zhao Wei, the thing that's sort of important here is that if she doesn't do this, she's going to get imprisoned in ice again, which is a pretty horrible situation to be in. So, I in a way, a lot of what she's doing is very understandable. And even the consumption of the heart is so that she can survive. But in the first movie, she did sacrifice herself for the love of the couple. So, she in a way, I think the danger for her in this movie is regressing. And so but it's a morally gray film, I think. I feel like there's not really a stark difference between the demon world and the human world in this one.
And I also like that we've glossed over some of the morality issues of, they've obviously killed people for their hearts, and we just sort of, just skip that part.
But Kenny, how many animals do we kill to survive on?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not good, it's not right, and as a human, I'm outraged that she would consume their hearts, but she's doing it for survival. Like, what else is she gonna eat?
But I would feel better if she only took the hearts of evil men.
Well, and that's what I was wondering about. But the thing is, look at whose heart she went after. The only person we saw her eating was the Prince of Tianlong, and we learn all kinds of crazy things about them. So, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I think there is possibly a suggestion that she's at least being somewhat discriminate in who she eats. But yeah, she still is killing people.
Yeah, because it's funny, because towards the end of the movie, when after the heart exchanges happened, and I don't know, we should call her Princess Jing at that point. She starts to freeze because she doesn't eat any hearts, right? And I wasn't really sure if that was tied to the not eating heart thing, or if it was the curse catching up to her thing.
I don't know. I think the logic of that got a little bit ethereal towards the end. Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, because I was trying to follow, because the only times that the ice showed up is when she played the music. Those were the two times that the ice really came after her, and so I was curious if what's the mechanism that causes this to happen? Is it like when she's sort of like just at ease and not really not projecting her will in some way? Like, why is it only coming when the music is being played? But yeah, I think that was just a product of, because remember she said your skin will flake off and all this stuff. I think that's what was going on. Is she was just she needed to eat another heart. But I think the frost was something that would just come and get you regardless. But yeah. So anyway, she leaves though with confirmation that he and it's enchanted love, but he's in love with the fox spirit, and they have a fight on the beach, which results in them kissing underwater, and then we get a glimpse of Tianlong on the move. They're coming because they're angry that she has skipped out on the marriage, and then we have the scene that I was just talking about, where Pang is sort of explaining to Chua how a sparrow takes 570 years to become a spirit, and a snake 820, and a fox 1,000 years. And then he says that a fox is the closest thing in nature to a human, and he asks to meet the fox spirit, and he explains that he wants to trade places with her. And it's in the course of this conversation that we learn about the life transformation ritual that occurs during the eclipse. And then Princess Jing attacks Zhao Wei, and we see her skin split open and then reseal, and it's pretty obvious that she can't be harmed with normal weapons. And she says to Princess Jing that, if you want to be close to him again, you better not destroy this, because that's your only chance. And then Prince Hua arrives, and she orders him to kill Zhao Wei. He refuses, and she's only ordering him to do so because she wants him to see what her real nature is. She knows he's not going to actually kill her. Big fight breaks out. She basically kicks him through the room, and then Princess Jing and the general begin this enormous brawl that is does a lot of property damage, but it's interrupted when a bunch of officials arrive, and they want to discuss the marriage arrangement. So any thoughts on that fight scene, by the way?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the scene was a little bit misleading for me, because I saw like a smirk on the general's face throughout the whole thing, and I feel like he sort of knew that that somehow the princess and Zhao Wei had swapped places. I obviously we find out that's not true, but that I had that impression there because he recognized the way she was holding the dagger, and maybe from the martial arts as well. Like he would have recognized her style or whatever, and the way she talks and the mentions of the flowers and all of that might have been enough to clue him into the fact that that something strange has happened, and that Princess Jing and Zhao Wei had somehow managed to swap. But that was just a bit of a red herring for me.
Yeah, no, that I didn't catch the smirking, but I did definitely notice. Yeah, but what was that, Dion?
Me either. That completely blew by me, but I did think that he kind of knew that they swapped places because of what Kenny said about the martial arts and the way she held the dagger and the smell of the flowers and all that. I thought that was all leading up to him knowing, but I never even caught the smirk.
Yeah, like he was all like throughout the whole time he was being pummeled by the princess. Like he had this like sort of strange expression on his face, which was like half smiling and like half accepting. Like, okay, whatever. You do you, princess, type of thing.
So then we get the scene where Pang and Chua are talking, and he explains the origins of humans as he understands it, is that Fuji created humans with his own blood to hunt demons, and that's when he explains that his lineage is from a long line of demon hunters, and his blood is deadly to demons. And so Chua pokes him in the hand and puts his blood on a brush, and then puts it on her hand, and it sizzles, and it looks like it's eradicating her flesh. It looks like a firecracker going off, and she rushes out to tell Zhao Wei about the experience, and Zhao Wei says it's just a small burn, don't pretend to know anything, and Chua says, I know for sure. And then we get this really striking moment where Zhao Wei looks right into the camera, and she says, do you have a human temperature and a heartbeat? Can you smell flowers? Can you tell the color of the sky? Have you shed tears? Is there anybody in the world prepared to die for you? And she's very intense while she's saying this. And I like this scene because, number one, it kind of gives you a window into her motives, into what's sort of driving her. But it also tells you a lot about how you're expected to sort of understand how demons see the world. Like the whole line about can you tell the color of the sky was a very odd one. Are we to assume that demons don't see the blue of the sky? Things like
Fox is colorblind.
Well, that's what I'm wondering
about.
But that's what I'm wondering about. Are they incorporating that into the mythology? Because that's recent information. Do you know what I mean? That's like before, when these stories were written, that's not information that was, I think, known at the time. So it's it's interesting to see it incorporated into it like that. And then when she actually does become the demon and she's looking at the world, she is seeing it kind of like she can see all of like everybody's heart beating bright red, and everything else is kind of a dull gray. So I thought that was interesting because they're just like she can't smell the flowers, she can't shed tears. So like clearly like the lack of a heart that these demons have is also more significant as well, in terms of they're not experiencing like a lot of the emotions and sensations that we experience. And I think that's what that's clearly what Zhao Wei is longing for here. And so eventually the Tianlong army arrives, and I think this scene is very 300 the way that it happens. They arrive on like a rollout platform drawn by slaves, and they demand that that Princess Jing make good on her marriage arrangement, and the general steps outside and just on his own decides to take on like 100,000 men, and he belittles them, saying, are you gonna fight me 1-on-1, or are you gonna fight me 100,000 on one? And so they kind of take him up on his offer. They start sending him guys one at a time to fight, and the first guy he fights is this big, giant, massive guy with a huge axe, and then he fights the wolf slaves, and then they get fed up and they decide to fire a volley of arrows at him. And his number 2 guy, who's quite big, stands in front of him and takes all of the arrow fire and dies. And then Princess Jing steps up on the edge of the wall and says that she'll make good on the marriage in 3 days. And I don't know, that was it's an important scene, so we should probably talk about it. But like the fight scene at the city wall, any thoughts on that one?
It was really strange because I guess the thing that struck out at me were the four. I can't remember the wolf. Yeah,
wolf boys.
The wolf boys.
Yeah.
So that was quite strange, and they doused them in like I assume it was not gasoline, it'd be alcohol in those day and age, before sending them off at him. And I was just like, that's a really strange.
Well, even the music changed when they arrived. The music became an electric guitar all of a sudden. And up until here, we've only had pipa, harpsichord, and piano, and like romantic sounding music, and then we get like something that
hard rockin' music.
Yeah, this was
almost.
like out of Patrick Swayze movie type soundtrack. Do you know what I mean? It was like it just kind of sounded different than the rest of the film. So what I want to know is, what do you guys think of the wolf slaves? Yay or nay? Like, was it like, what was your response to them?
I thought they were pretty cool. I mean, this is a movie with fox demons and stuff. I can accept that that they could have taken some slaves and trained them to the point that they become rabid, feral beasts, as opposed to the warriors. Even the actual warrior they sent against the general was pretty beastly. Yeah, he's huge.
He's huge beyond what a human is normally capable of. I think he was like in any other movie, you would assume he's an ogre or something by his size.
Yeah, I was definitely agree with that. I was wondering if it was a real person or if it was CGI, because he was just too massive to be real.
Yeah.
And then the wolf slaves, it was like, well, the way they crawled around was just too wolf-like for me. I thought it was crazy, but I thought it was cool that they would have that in there with all the fox demons and everything running around. So it was cool, but strange.
And Tianlong, they are like apparently they are some kind of wolf tribe, because the princess has like a wolf pelt on, and there's a lot of like references to wolves and
even the name of the country means heavenly wolf.
Oh, is that what it means? Okay, okay.
Yeah, or celestial wolf, depending on how you want to interpret it.
Okay, so it all fits together then. And it's interesting too, because they kind of are like, the first time he neglected his duties and Princess Xing got hurt, it was a bear, and now it's a wolf. But it's like, it's a country, but it's basically like a similar type of threat. And so yeah, I like the wolf slaves, but it's a very bizarre thing, and I really feel like they were inspired by 300 when I see those scenes.
When was 300 out? Was
2006 or something?
Oh, okay. Oh, whoa, that was a while back.
I mean, it might. I don't remember the exact. I saw it when it came out in theater, so I know it was around that time. It was back when like UFC stuff was really big, and so like if you
Yeah.
look at all the fight styling and the style of the fights in 300, it's very Muay Thai. Do you know what I mean? Um, but yeah. So I thought that they were drawing on that, and and so we get the the next scene, which is Zhao Wei is singing with her pipa again, and the frost comes in and actually freezes her, and Princess Jing has to save her, and she melts away the frost, and then she offers her again the opportunity to trade places, but this time she's going to have to give her her heart. Like she needs her to willingly give over her heart. And this is the scene where she really kind of transparently explains what the exchange would entail and what the risks would be. And it's like you were saying, she's not like trying to be deceptive about it. She's being totally upfront about, look, you could get trapped in the ice, you could wander around like a ghost searching for, humans' hearts to eat. You're not going to be human anymore. There's all these, she explains all the downsides to her. And so then we have the second skin changing scene, except in this one she actually takes out her heart, and that's the way that she is transformed. She loses her heart and changes skins, and the next morning, Zhao Wei as Princess Jing walks out and smells the azaleas and experiences the world through human senses, and you just get this sense that she is really like experiencing these things for the first time, and then Zhao Wei. Princess Jing as Zhao Wei goes to General Hua, and they have sex, and it is not, I think, the romantic kind of.
It wasn't making love.
Yeah, it was not making love.
Yeah.
It was very. He was doing his best not to look her in the eyes, and I think it was because, again, he's enchanted and he's not. He says later in the movie his heart belongs to her, but his eyes were drawn to Zhao Wei, and now she has Zhao Wei's skin, so there's a conflict going on inside of him.
That's interesting to me because like if he knew that the princess had swapped skins with someone, would he still love her?
I don't know. I mean, because the other thing is, if presumably because she didn't just swap skins, she gave away her heart, so she's actually losing her soul in this process too. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like they're implying, I think, that she's losing more than just her old body, and so I don't know, but
Like,
I mean,
if the events of the movie had like ended there, and somehow the general found out that Princess Jing was now in the body of Xiao Wei. Like, do you think he would be able to accept that? And would they have been able to run away like they wanted to and be happy ever after? Or would...
so with her as a demon, would he be able to do it?
Like,
I think he'd have serious issues with that because that's not the woman that he loved. I think he loved the woman who was the general who wasn't devouring hearts, and I don't think he wants to be with her if he knows that she's devouring human hearts. So I imagine. I
mean, we're trying to say that it's what's inside that counts, and like if other than the whole eating hearts thing, like if she was basically the same person inside.
But I'm saying she's not. I don't think she is anymore.
Yeah.
I think once she gives up her heart, she's actually getting rid of what's inside of her and becoming the demon. And that's why, because we see her in the next scene. She goes, she's wandering around the city, pale as a ghost, looking for hearts to eat and just ravenous about it. And she even says when he finds her there, that I'll eat this heart and we can be together. I'll be the most beautiful woman in the world again, but I won't be the princess that you loved. So I think it's a proper exchange. She's giving up being Princess Jing to be the most beautiful woman in the world that this guy is enchanted with. But they have a pretty interesting exchange because she basically says, "Look, I don't blame you. You're only human. Like you fell in love with the exterior." And he says, "No, it was my I forget what he calls his eyes, but like my damned eyes, basically." And he slices his eyes out, and the enchantment goes away, and just in the nick of time because Zhao Wei as Princess Jing has decided to make good on the marriage arrangement, and she goes to Tianlong, and when she gets there, they poison her retinue, and they reveal that all they want is her heart because the prince that Zhao Wei killed at the very beginning of the movie is the prince that the princess was engaged to. And so she sees his corpse up on the platform, and the princess of Tianlong and the sorcerer of Tianlong explain that they're going to put her heart into him during the eclipse, and that'll bring him back to life. And she goes to attack the princess of Tianlong, and she has no powers anymore. And so all of the other characters, the Chua, Peng, General Hua, and Princess Jing as Zhao Wei, go to save her and make the exchange of the heart again so that she can go back to normal. I don't know. What do you guys think of that stuff?
She must have felt so like, isn't this a bleep? Because the man that I killed at the beginning is now the person who's going to take my heart, and they're going to revive him with it. It's like everything came like full circle, you know? So it's just like she couldn't have imagined her life ending up that way, just being ended up dead and heartless all over again. It was just so shocking. I was shocked. That was a twist I wasn't expecting. Like Kenny said at the beginning of the podcast, that scene wasn't, you didn't expect that scene to come full circle at the end. It's just no way.
It totally surprised me the first time I saw it. Kenny, were you surprised by it, or did you suspect?
Yeah, definitely. Like there was very like I know you mentioned that there are lots of little things that crop up in the movie and show up later on to have a big impact, but I didn't expect that. I thought that scene was just like a sort of scene setting moment where it was like, okay, so there are demons, they eat hearts, and they try to they seduce men and they eat their hearts. Okay, that's fine, but I didn't think that it would have such a key impact in the story, and it's who the princess is supposed to marry, and he was probably on his way to collect the bride.
No, that's and one of the interesting things is every time I watch it again, I try to look for signs of that early in the film, and it's nice that there are signs of it, but it's just not. It's so hard to pick up on that it's gonna be, unless you're like really brilliant, you're gonna be surprised by it, because he does say to her when she's killing him, "Do you know who I am?" And his caravan definitely is reminiscent of the Tianlong caravan. Like you can sort of you can see the similarities there. They're playing a lot of similar style music. They kind of play vaguely Middle Eastern music whenever the Tianlong people are around. It seems, and so I don't know. There are hints of it, but it's not strong enough, I think, for the vast majority of people to pick up on, and I certainly didn't notice it the first time. And I was genuinely surprised in a good way when I first watched the movie. And so this is where we get the big final confrontation with the Tianlong, kingdom people, and also where another one of the Chekhov guns sort of comes back, because we have General Hua arrive, and he's blind now, and he's able to fire his arrows perfectly at the enemy, because we know that he has this ability to fire blind. And so there's a big battle. Unfortunately, Chua is wounded when Pang tries to attack the sorcerer, and the sorcerer slices him with the blade, and his own blood goes on her and starts eating through her skin, and she gets wounded in the battle, and she basically explodes, and a phoenix pours from her body. It's not clear. I don't know. So I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but do you think she died, or do you think she just changed forms and came back at the end?
Traditionally, I don't think they die that easily. But based on what I sort of know from the tropes and these kind of stories, is that her outer form broke, and that she must recultivate the energies before she can become a human form again. Is how I'd look at it.
Okay.
Yeah, and I kind of thought of it as this on similar lines: the phoenix rising from the ashes. So now she's not this insequential little Sparrow demon anymore. She's now transcended into the next level.
Yeah, and I don't know, like it's hard to say whether like she's actually going to be a phoenix now or whether she's still the sparrow, because I remember somewhere on the movie, Pang was sort of explaining about how going through his little encyclopedia and going through phoenixes, and he did mention the phoenix.
Yeah,
so
he
it
did.
is possible that she's actually a phoenix, and that just we just had no idea, because to be honest, like we don't really know much about Chua. If you think about it from a sort of logical point of view, could the sparrow really break through, ice that's basically a heavenly tribulation, that's seething, a 1,000-year-old fox demon? Like, it seems a bit far-fetched to me that just any old bird would be able to peck its way and free a fox demon like that. It seems like she's obviously she should be a bit more than meets the eye, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm inclined to think that's the case. I think she is a phoenix spirit of some kind, because number one, when she opens up like that, she's clearly like a Chinese phoenix. She just looks exactly like you. She does not look like a sparrow anymore, and so I think that's us seeing her true form.
But what if she's at the end of her sparrow period, and these are her when she breaks the fox spirit free from the ice, is like those last few days are the end of her sparrow period, so his blood is what releases her to become her true phoenix.
I mean, I guess that's possible too. I don't know what rules they're going by here. So I think everything we say is going to be speculation, but I'm inclined. I guess the explanation I like, though, is that she's always been this phoenix and we just didn't know it. That to me is sort of, it makes the character a little bit more explainable. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, there's another angle you can come at it. So from like a it's from the Shan Shah sort of like light novel angle, it could be that the bloodline of the Exorcist family isn't that they like kill demons, they purify them.
Okay.
Traditionally speaking, phoenixes are not considered demons as far as I'm aware. Like, dragons aren't really demons, are they?
No,
Dragons
but he
are
mentioned
phoenix,
phoenix demons. He did mention phoenix demons in the almanac.
Yeah. So it's hard to say. Like maybe
But
like,
you're saying that the blood could have purified her, and kind of in line with what Dion is saying, it sort of brought her to the. I mean, again, I think that's possible. I don't know. I really like the idea that she's always been a phoenix and we didn't know from the, because I feel like she does mention her people. Do you know what I mean? She mentioned, like, we know she has like minions or something. I assume birds, and the crow, and after she ascends, the crows come in and devour the Tianlong sorcerer, in a really dramatic way. It kind of reminds me of like the scene in Return of Condor Heroes where we keep hearing about Yang Kong being devoured by crows, except he was already dead.
I was thinking of the Mummy, with the scarabs and devouring.
That's true. Yeah, no. I think they're definitely borrowing from things like that. The Tianlong stuff. A lot of it reminded me of Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom as well. There was sort of that kind of
Kalima.
Yeah. But yeah, so then, they take Zhao Wei as Princess Jing off of the, I don't know what you would call it, like the cross of bones that they have her tied to. It's like a really bizarre display of it's like a sunburst of bones that she's tethered to. And
on altar, I guess. Like it's hot. Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? It's got a weird look, and they take her down, and the general offers his heart willingly to Zhao Wei if she'll save the princess, and so she ends up embracing the princess and then ascending up into the sky, and then there's like this explosion of light, and then she falls down, and then she turns into Princess Jing, and based on what the Demon Hunter says at the end, it sounds like they kind of merged in a way. Is that how you guys interpreted that, or what was your reading of what happened?
I think they did merge, because throughout the movie, it's sort of implied that demons are missing something and humans have that something, and when you put it together, you can like sum of the parts make it bigger than the whole type of thing. Like because after they merge, like we see that the Princess Jing's scar is healed as well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, it feels like what they've managed to do there, because they're both sort of willing and under the magical effects of the eclipse or whatever, they were able to fuse their souls together, so that they can both be alive and experience happiness.
No, it's almost like a Dark Crystal type ending, right? It's like it feels like they sort of completed each other in the end. I don't, Dion, what did you think of it?
I thought the same thing, that they merged together and became one. So we kind of we see that the best of both of them end up in this one person, and so they both can live happy because Zhao Wei gets to experience everything that a human does, and Princess Jing gets her beauty back, and so both of them get what they want, just all in one complete person.
And then we get the scene where they're riding through the flower fields. I assume these are azaleas, but I'm not 100% sure because I don't know my azaleas well enough. But they've mentioned azaleas throughout the whole movie, so I'm gonna assume. And the general's bandage around his eyes come off, but we don't see his eyes, so we don't really know, I think, if he regains his vision or not. The Princess Jing, her scar goes away through the process, but I'm unclear on what the general's eyesight fate is here. And then the movie closes with Pang explaining what happened and seeing another sparrow and thinking that it might be Chua, and then a feather drops from the sparrow and he puts it in his book, and then we get the closing credits. And so that was the end of the movie. I don't know, any final thoughts on the end of the film?
I don't know. I have a little bit of mixed feelings, because I feel like it would have been better if Princess Jing never got her scar healed. It detracts a little bit from the message in that what's outside doesn't matter. You should do whatever you can to get rid of your exterior imperfections. And I mean, you've gone through the whole movie telling us that that people can love you despite your scars, and it's what's inside that's important, right? And then suddenly you have to cure the scar on their face before they can have a happy ending type of thing, which is a little bit contrary. But I other than that, like, I thought it was a very good ending. I mean, they stopped a ritual. To be fair, like, it's hard to say that the barbarian tribes were truly evil as well, because they were only trying to. Yeah, everybody had their own motivations. They were trying to save their beloved prince, presumably, a bit in a bit of a forceful manner, of course, like kidnapping a princess, basically. But it feels like if you consider it from different points of view, like, they could be the protagonists of their own story, and they're doing the right thing.
Well, they're trying to save their prince, and because I feel like, I know we did say that the sorcerer was pretty evil compared to her, but even he seemed to have. He wasn't just mindlessly evil. He had clear motivations that were expressed on his face when he was negotiating with the princess, and when so they were invested emotionally. In seeing them,
and they went through the proper channels. They negotiated with the kingdom to have this princess married to them, to their prince, and he was acting loyally on behalf of the Tianlan kingdom as well. Like, I don't know, it feels like they did things in the right way, but with a bit unscrupulous in that they wanted to kill the princess, of course. But then again, like, it's kind of, it really was like Zhao Wei's fault that the prince is dead in the first place. So the karma is a bit tangled here. I think.
No,
yeah, definitely.
I mean, yeah, they were definitely they really add a flavor to the movie that makes it interesting. I think they're doing a lot of interesting things to it. At one point, the princess of the Tianlong tribe or kingdom is she's saying what they're going to do, and she's saying it to the rhythm that the soundtrack is establishing. Like there's like a rhythm going on in the background that she's not supposed to be hearing, and she's saying it to the rhythm of that soundtrack. And so I just thought they were this very dramatic, evil tribe that had a lot of bones and a lot of dark rituals involving skulls with blood in them, and they're very interesting people. And that kind of brings me to the question. Oh, what were you going to say?
That makes me question, why would a king of such refined elegance even though she's the last daughter to get married, why would you marry her off to a kingdom that was like so bone heavy, and in comparison, they looked barbaric.
Well, yeah, because remember when he poisons them, he brings them all wine, and the sorcerer, he looks evil. He makes no attempt to conceal, that he's a baddie. He's got like this weird thing that sort of juts out from his robes. That's like all, I don't know how to describe it. And he's got these dark.
Well, that kind of reminded me of I can't remember the cartoon movie where the Metro Man goes into hiding, and the little blue guy has the wants to kill Metro Man. They go through all this stuff, but he had the similar collar. But that's like totally off the point.
Well, I feel like he looks as close to a skeleton as a human can and still be alive.
Right.
Like he's just got that look, and he's giving the guards their wine, and he's got this like deliciously evil smile on his face as he's giving them the poison wine, and it's just it's just obvious that these are evil people. How much the king or the emperor knew about that, I don't know, but I also suspect because she's scarred like that and possibly a little bit rambunctious and difficult to control, he just figured, if I have to marry one of my daughters to these people to stop them from invading, I'll have it be her. I think that might have been what was going on. And so I think that I think that was another aspect of it, is that it wasn't just, I'm just marrying her to cement some kind of alliance. I think they were threatening to invade if there wasn't a marriage. And so it was, one of his daughters or they get invaded. And I don't know, but one thing that I think we do want to talk about before we go is the setting and what kind of setting this was, because clearly this seems to not be historical China by the end of the movie, or at least it's questionable whether it is. It's either historical China and they're taking a lot of liberties, or we're actually in another setting by this point. And there is genre that where where the stories start out and you're supposed to believe that you're kind of in China, and then as the story goes, it becomes clear you're in another setting. So I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I thought that maybe White City was completely like on a border town between China and another country. So maybe like an outpost kind of place. And once they went to the Tilong capital or wherever they were, it was just a completely different country. So, I don't know. I just thought of it more of an outpost, kind of almost sort of an apocalyptic outpost on the Tilong side, but definitely still in China, but really on the far reaches of it. That was my perspective.
Yeah, for my point of view, is like it was never like in this movie anyway. It was never based in an actual China. Like we did get like a brief moment where they sort of pulled up a map and said like, "Oh, this is the kingdom, and we've got 6 armies or whatever, right? Is it 6 armies?"
I can't remember. That would probably be a crucial scene to examine though, for this one.
misremembering something? Because
You're
there was like
probably
the
right.
North.
You're probably right. I probably just failed to make proper observations during that scene. Um,
And yeah, I think this was sort of explaining what the purpose of the White City was, and they're there to hold off the warmongering Tianlang people. Um,
but did they actually show us the map in that scene?
did they show us an app, or did they just mention it? I can't remember now. I think my mind is just making
Oh wait, hold
up
on. I'm looking at
an
it right
image
now.
too.
I'm looking at it right now. I think. Well, it's a pretty. The map is not terribly clear.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think that sort of serves to to reinforce that it's not actually a China thing. It's just like a generic central kingdom,
mhm.
which is also what the name of China is in Chinese, right? The central kingdom, surrounded by various other entities.
Yeah, because all we have to go by is Tianlong, which you said means celestial wolf, and then
Yeah.
we have the king, the empire that she's a princess of. But all she says is this empire. We never get anything really more than that. And then we have the map, which is pretty vague. I'm looking at it, and it's very old timey. So, it's kind of like when you look at the old Pomponius Mela maps of Rome. It just it could be anything. But I feel like they take pains to make it as vague as possible, and it feels like at the very least it's meant to be timeless in some way. So I don't know, but I feel like we are definitely getting pulled into fantasy in the movie. It's more. It feels very fantastical, both in the aspects of the movie itself and in the sort of vagueness of the setting. But what genre would you guys place it in?
Family in the fantasy genre. I don't see what else it could be. Maybe it's just like I'm
Yeah.
not. What did you have in mind, Brendan? Like, you asked that because you could see like at least two choices, right? So what were your other options?
Well, I was just asking because I know that, number one, I know that when we post this, people are going to point out it's not wuxia, which I think is a valid thing to point out. But also, I feel like it sort of straddles fantasy and romance. Like this feels like this could be a romance or even a soap opera. The way that it's played out, like everything down to the music and the relationships that are going on, like it's all very melodramatic and emotional and sensual, and there's just there's a lot of stuff in here that sort of it just seems to it reminds me a little bit of what was that book, the Time of the Twins, the Dragonlance trilogy. It's kind of like that sort of. I'm probably going a little bit too far back here, but it's sort of, again, I think it straddles fantasy and romance.
I would agree. I can see the elements of all those in there.
Yeah, I guess romance. It's just I don't know. Like romance as a genre seems slightly.
Well, I mean romance, like the books you would see with the Fabio thing pictures on them, that kind of romance. I don't mean like romance like, When Harry Met Sally or things like
Yeah,
that.
it's not a rom-com.
Yeah, not a rom-com.
No, definitely
Although
not a
if
rom-com.
you just had like a standalone movie of Chua and Pang, I think it could be a
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been even more surprising if Billy Crystal was there on the platform instead of the Prince when the marriage took place. But what did you guys think of the acting of Zhao Wei and Zhou Xun when because one of the things is, and this is kind of a Trading Places movie too, where they actually have to swap bodies and they still have to be their old character, or they have to be the other person's character basically. And that can always be like a hit or miss thing. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm really supposed to be this person, but I look like the other actor. And I was just curious how that landed with you.
I felt like it worked because so the two characters. I feel like it wouldn't be as difficult to switch as you might think in this case because the they were very clear in in the exposition, like what demons and humans differed in, right? What they could see. Like it's very easy. I say it's very easy, but it was fairly easy for her to portray like a sense of wonder. She's rushing outside with her bare feet and like she's sniffing flowers and all that sort of stuff, which I don't know, and which did, it wasn't difficult for them to portray that it was a different person in that body type of thing for me, and especially when she went to do the assassination, or when she tried to kill the princess, the Tianlang princess, after finding out their plot. She did all the right motions that Zhao Wei would have done. Had her hands in the claw position, went straight for the heart like she usually does. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't long enough for me to have to try and like make a judgment on how good it was, but in those sort of snippets, it was sufficient for me to say, oh, well, it's not difficult for them to act differently because it's like telling a human to act like a dog or a dog to act like a human kind of thing. It's so different that they couldn't really mess it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Kenny. The time period was just so short because the first time, didn't she said she had like 12 hours or something?
Yeah, she had 12
So it was
hours.
such a small amount of time. I think if it had been over a longer period of time, like say days or even a week, it would have been kind of hard to actually assume all the mannerisms of a person. But they had very brief encounters with the other people. And like when at the end, when she was, when they had completely switched places and she was going after the Tianlong princess, the princess didn't know her, and no one in the Tianlong camp knew her, so it would have been easy to fool them. But if Zhang as Zhao Wei with the general had more time together, I don't think she would have been able to fool him. It's just not enough time.
Yeah. No, I think.
But it works.
Yeah, it was very short. I think one of the things that was striking to me was that despite the shortness, I sort of got the essential characteristics of the other character in each of the performances. And I like some of the effects they used too for it. Like at one point they had Zhao Wei, the actress, so Princess Jing's eyes were glowing to sort of let you know she's not really Princess Jing, she's this other character. But it's very maddening to have to try to talk about each character when they're body swapped like that. It makes it very, very confusing, I find. So I don't know. Any other thoughts on the movie before we end the episode?
Yeah, it would be interesting to see the first one and compare it. I mean, do you have any idea like which one of the movies were more successful, the first or the second?
I think the first one was, but I'm not 100% sure. I'd have to actually look that up. They're very different movies, I feel. And there's a lot of good things about the first one that makes it different from this one. There's a lot of good things about this one that makes it different from the first one. The first one is much more like the original story. This one, I feel, just kind of takes what remained from the end of the first one and just rides with it in this wild direction. And it sort of logically doesn't work 100%, but it doesn't matter because it really takes you into like a totally new and interesting experience. But I think it'd be fun to do the first one so that we can compare them because it is a good movie, and the first one does have Donnie Yen, and I think that we could do a lot of speculation on how some of the characters in that one maybe relate to characters in this one, and there's some interesting things in there that we could probably talk about. So all right, so we're gonna head out. We've been talking for a while, and I just wanted to remind people that Wushu Weekend we have a Patreon page for. You can sign up, and there are different reward levels, and the reward levels will let you do things like vote on one of the movies we do each month, vote on monthly themes, make suggestions that we add to our backlist of movies, and so on. So we, if you want to, sign up, you can do so, and I'll post a link. And yeah, so we'll be back on next week with another movie, and I'm sure we'll have plenty of other things going on this week. And until then, we will talk to you later.
Nothing good comes from that.